Okay, I've got to admit it, I'm in love with Mumu. Her design is actually pretty simple. She has an umbrella, she looks very green, I guess that's a good description, and she's lucky enough to be a tactician alongside Vigil.
Wow.
Because Vigil's cool, right? Vigil's great. But talking about her as an actual operator, she's actually very unique. With her clones, this allows for a lot of different types of gameplay. Her clone can take block, 90% of stats of the ally, attack interval, which is basically how quick they attack, can also take force damage or physical damage based on what they do, and takes their base attack range. This is limited because you can't use ally skills or talents, so before you try and certer it with 5 clones, unfortunately that is not how it works. Now, you might be wondering, why do I love Muelsyse? Why do I think she's such a fun unit? I'm going to explain in this video, and this is not a guide. I want to preface, I'm going to talk about skills, just so I get across with the good things about her and what she actually does. So, the first skill is pretty simple, gives DP and also gives her and her flow and shape attack, and also extra attack speed. To be honest, I do not use this skill at all. I've only used the third skill and the second skill. I think, honestly, the only time you'd use this is if you want your clones to pop up more frequently, mainly because with the higher attack speed you get more attacks down, but I still think that the third skill is just overall better. But at least it's not Hollow Hayek's third skill. Now, the second skill gives DP, gives Muelsyse and the flowing shapes additional attack. And if the flowing shape is in a melee form, it will recover a certain amount of HP per second and gains a Sheller effect. Basically, Sheller is damage reduction from arts and physical damage, and if the flowing shape is in ranged form, the attacks will hit twice at random targets within the attack range. But this actually gets me into the video with why I actually like Muelsyse. She offers quite a bit of variety in her skills. Her skills do differ a little bit, especially with melee and ranged forms. Even though I don't think the skill is absolutely insane, I still prefer her third skill. There are very specific ways you can use it. You can theoretically use it with maybe like a super tanky operator, put that on top of the clone, and then go ahead and start recovering HP, get the sanctuary effect, pop the skill when there's a lot of enemies. With this, it becomes just kind of like a fun little skill where you can technically just have a Muelsyse clone defender. Now, of course, in practice, would you actually use this? Probably not. You're better off just using defenders because they actually have the skills, they have the talents that actually give them more survivability. But this kind of links into why I like Muelsyse. It's because she also has another way of playing. You can also have her just deal additional hits with the clones. This isn't anything too crazy, but this will allow you to do probably overall more damage. This is something that will help you overall get more out of the actual clones. And you know, if a character's winking at you in the E2 art and acknowledging that you exist, you've just kind of got to make it work, even if it means trying to buff the clone a million times, just to try and make it work just for the video. Now, Muelsyse's third skill will give DP. It will also buff Muelsyse and her flowing shapes by giving them a certain amount of attack. If the flowing shape is actually in melee form, it will pull the surrounding enemies slightly towards it, and every 2 seconds it will stun overblocked enemies continuously. Now, if it's in ranged form, it will actually respawn all the flowing shapes, and the attacks will actually be able to bind enemies for a certain amount of seconds. Now, this is really the skill where I use this pretty much all the time. Over the second skill and first skill, I'm not gonna lie, I pretty much use this one like maybe 99% of the time. I just think this is so fun to use. I will also say that actually the ranged form for me is a lot more enjoyable, mainly because all the clones actually pop up after this, which I feel like is a lot more exciting than a melee one, just because a melee one, even though it does bring enemies to it, it's only really one clone at best most of the time. So I actually much prefer the bind. Also, the bind on the range form is really good, especially if the range you can get on certain operators. For example, if you put like a Fartooth down, you can get some really good range on this. So this has actually covered my back a lot of the times because some enemies I just cannot handle in that moment, so using this bind skill can bind them. It can help me a lot with just controlling the situation better, which is something that I actually don't really have built on my account in terms of like crowd control-y type operators. I find this to be so enjoyable that this was literally my 4th skill on my account that I mastered to Mastery 3, and the first ever character I mastered a skill on like fully within less than a week of actually having an operator, which is something you don't see from me. If you've actually seen my channel, I literally barely master any of my units to max. Don't look at my Chen, don't look at my passenger, don't look at the rest of my account. Now, the only thing with Muelsyse that I'm not a massive fan of is probably how her clone actually works when it pops up around the field. Of course, you need the 4 adjacent blocks to really be empty if you're using a range form, mainly because it will actually pop up in places where you can actually put an operator. So if you want to put an operator in a certain spot, the clone might be in the way, or you might be in the way of the clone, which means a clone won't be able to pop up in that position, or there will be certain blocks on the map where you can't place an operator, and if the clone is basically around any of those positions, it will not be able to put an operator there, which means you could potentially have less clones to put down. It's very easy to get used to, and you kind of know when you can't use it, but there are a lot of times I go into a map and I'm like, okay, let's use Muelsyse. Maybe I can only get 4 clones down, maybe even only 3. You can see they really tried to make the Lone Troll event pretty much made for her, just because there is so much wide open space, but that's also open for Hollow Hayek, which we'll talk about in a moment, but this is something that is a little bit harder to use for that reason, and also in integrated strategies and SSS, she doesn't really work as well with the clones because the clones don't get some benefits that normal operators do from it, but regardless, I'm a massive fan of her, and I just want to say, I think she's my favourite operator in the whole entire game, and probably will stay that way until I get a new operator, and then I'm like, wow, I love this operator, Muelsyse, don't even remember what she does. But now, if you had keen eyes, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, you would have actually seen I had some potential on my Moo. So, you might be curious how my pulls actually went. Here are some clips of my actual pulls. I want to say very quickly, I was very lucky and then very unlucky at the same time at the beginning. So let me know how your pulls went down below. I'm very curious to hear if you guys got Moo as well. Did you pull on the banner? Did you even get Hollow Hayek? Does anyone even care about Hollow Hayek? My guess is probably not, but she looks cool, and I'm going to say that. But that moves us on to our next segment. We have Arknights lore. This is where I offer you some significant information that will change your Arknights journey for a very long time. So, fun fact, Emiya is actually a woman. Alright, let's move on to the pulls then. It is going to be a 6-star because that is how this game works. Thank you! Okay, alright, so the goal right now is to get Muelsyse. If I don't get Muelsyse, maybe I'll keep going. Please.
貴殿に誠心誠意の謝意を伝えさせてくれ。ロドスのドクター。私のような故郷を追われた。
Oh yeah, baby, let's go. First one. Who is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Finally, she's home. Here we go. And now we get our Hollow Hayek.
私たちは顔見知りだし、くだらない初めましてなんていらないわよね。でも
Of a 6-star. 6-star. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's the second one.
私はライン生命生態科主任のミュールジスよ。と言っても私たちの
Not actually unhappy with that. Okay, Nelvoridian Knight. Nelvoridian Knight or Holyak? It won't be another limited unit because it always is. Hollow Hayek. Back to back. Wait, is that back to back? Ooh, really? Yes, yes. Two. Okay, it's only one. It's only one. What? What? Oh my god, what? That's 5 bags, 4 6-stars. Yes, concrete, baby. What? What? Wait, what? Wait. She's on this banner? Wait, she's on this banner? Nelvoridian Knight or W? I don't care about Nel, I'm gonna be honest. Let's go! Let's go! Oh, I got 2 of my favorite limited units in the game, finally.